Namaste. Welcome. One of my most requested sequences is the hip openers and the shoulder openers, just because they do feel very good. So today we're going to focus on that. So let's get right into this. We're going to sit in Sukhasana for starters. Take a breath in. Remind ourselves that we're here in this moment right now. Try to keep your back relatively straight. Exhale, feeling our breath turning into ocean breath with a gently whooshing sound coming out of our throat. And from here, we're going to do a combination of static and dynamic exercises. What you would want to do, you would want to choose the exercises that suit your mood at any particular day. Sometimes you want to move around, so you would do the dynamic ones. Sometimes you would want to just, stay still. And on those days, static exercises are a good idea. So, first off, we're going to grab our knees. And from Sukhasana, start pulling our knees together and putting them back on the ground, spreading them apart. We're just going to do it a couple more times just to get ready for the hip movement. And I'm going to stop here. I'm going to start setting my feet into the butterfly. Spend as much time as you need to settle into the butterfly with the soles of your feet together. Open your hips. Let your knees hang down low. Don't try to open everything wide right away. You don't need to. You would see that as the time goes, as your engagement with the exercise progresses, they do naturally open wider. So I'm settled in my butterfly, my sitting bones on the ground. And from here, I'm going to start gently flapping my wings by moving my knees up and down in a pulsing motion. We're looking here for the warmth in the hip joints. Such a yummy sensation. Give yourself as much time as possible, as much time as you'd like. Any kind of rocking motion is very soothing for your body. So you want to enjoy that. And once you feel the warmth, you can start leaning forward, bending your elbows, and just sinking down. And coming up, straightening your arms. And we're going to start doing that. Kundalini Yoga asks you to close your eyes when you're doing the exercises, just because our attention gets so distracted by the things that are outside. Your yoga session gives you a chance to direct your gaze inward, or just to take a break from the distractions of the outside world, so you can focus on the motion of your elbows right now. They're doing this circular motion. Or you can focus on the sensation of your lower back lengthening and getting warmer. Now you have two ways to go about this one. You can linger in the upmost point and in the downmost point, or you can make it a continuous motion. Do whatever feels good. There is no right or wrong way to go about this. I'm gonna give it a couple more before coming back up. And from here, now that I'm all warmed up, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna turn this dynamic butterfly into the static butterfly. I'm gonna bend my elbows again. And this time around, I'm again gonna lean forward and try to sink down low for at least 10 breaths. 10 slow breaths give you roughly a minute in your pose. So if you're counting your breaths today, give yourself at least 10. And in the static version, just notice how your body is sinking lower and lower with each and every breath. You don't want to go too deep into the bend right away. The rule of the thumb is if you're feeling sore, especially, or stiff, go 20% and see the magic happen as the gravity is going to pull you down deeper and deeper into the bend. I'm almost done with my 10 breaths, but you can linger longer if you'd like. Again, this is a very yummy pose. As you're lingering in this pose, just notice with your mind's eye what's going on in your body. Scan your body from head to toe. If you come across any areas of tension, try to consciously relax those. And I'm gonna start coming up. Give myself a moment here being completely still because I want the blood to return back from my head to the rest of my body. And from here, I'm going to start straightening my legs, digging my heels into the ground, supporting myself with my hands, fingers facing backward. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to roll my legs over the mat or over the ground from side to side, feeling the tension leaving my lower back. And from here, I'm going to bend my legs, plant my feet firmly into the ground, make sure that my buttocks feel comfortable on the ground. And from here, I'm going to roll my bent legs to one side, look behind my shoulder, roll them back, twist my whole torso, and I'm going to keep doing that. Go at your own pace. You absolutely don't need to rush. And you will be sliding onto your sacrum from your buttocks. So when you will have slid, just pull yourself back onto your buttocks. Totally normal. Now there will be days when both of your knees will touch the ground. There will be days when you're stiffer and they won't. It's never about achievement. Just give your hips this nice soothing rolling motion. I've slid too far, so I'm going to pull myself back up and give it a couple of whirls on each side again before coming back to the center. And coming back to the center, I'm going to hug myself under my knees, roll over onto the sacrum, and from here, I'm just going to hang here, finding my balance, reminding myself to breathe deeply. Give my hips a rest. Come back down. And I'm going to turn so that you can see better. But I'm going to slide into a down position here with my legs still bent. And I'm going to pull my knees close to my chest, leaving my arms parallel to my body, palms down for now. And I'm going to start pulsing motions, tensing my hips, releasing my hips so that my knees are closer to my chest. I'm going to do it a couple more times as some prep work for the next one. And once I'm done with this pulsing motion, I'm going to grab my knees and really pull them close to my chest, having my sacrum float over the mat. And from here, we're going to do a very delicious dynamic hip opener. I'm going to not keep my feet together. And I'm going to start rolling motions with my knees, getting my feet close, pulling them apart. Try not to lower your sacrum too much on the ground. Go outward with your rolling motion or go inward. It doesn't really matter. What does matter is that midway through the exercise, we're going to change the direction of the rotation. I think I'm done rotating my hips outward, so I'm going to start rotating them inward. This is the easiest thing you can do before bed to let the tension go out of your hips. Try to give it at least 10 circles in each and every direction. So at least 20 circles total. And I'm going to stop here. Keep my knees where they were. Let go of my knees and grab my toes. I'm going to float my sacrum over the mat and have my feet point toward the sky to assume the happy baby pose. And whatever looseness we got in our hips, we're going to build up on that effect by assuming the happy baby pose. And with the happy baby, what you want to do, you want to stay in this pose for at least 10 breaths. And feel this gravity pulling your knees down, opening your hips. Don't forget to breathe. There's nothing to do here, nowhere to be. It's totally okay if your legs are shaking a little bit. Another couple of breaths. And then I'm gonna let go and slowly get up. And from here, I'm gonna get in the frog pose. And from the frog pose, I would try to keep as much of the surface of my soul on the ground as possible. I'm going to find my balance here. Some people like the namaste sign, some people just like to let their hands hang from their knees. I'm gonna do the namaste sign because it's gonna give me another point of stability, because what gonna start doing, I'm gonna start swaying very gently from one foot to another. Don't go too fast or too far. Just do whatever feels good. What this does, it works your inner hips very well. Don't try to lean anywhere, try to keep your body straight. And it's also a fairly intensive exercise, so here, go at your own pace and do it for as long as feels comfortable. With dynamic yoga exercises from the Kundalini tradition, like this one, what you want to do, you want to see your muscles working, you want to feel them, but you most definitely do not want to overstrain. You don't want to be sore afterwards. So I'm gonna give it a couple more sways on each side. Then I'm gonna lower my hands on the ground. And I'm gonna get on my hands and knees here, turning toward you so that you guys can see. Getting on my hands and knees, I'm gonna spend enough time getting myself comfortable, making sure that my knees are slightly apart, that my hands are supporting me well. And from here, I'm gonna sway back, keeping my arms straight. Try to sit my buttocks on my heels and sway forward into the upward facing dog. And keep doing that. Go at your own pace, go slow or go fast. We're gonna get your hips through the range of motion available to them in this plane of movement as well. If you go faster, you can add an element of workout, like a legitimate workout with heart rate elevation to this, but you don't have to. And again, this is the rocking motion, so it's very soothing to our nervous system. I'm gonna give it a couple more reps. And from here, I'm gonna go back on my hands and knees. Check my position for stability. And then sway my body backwards so that I can assume the monkey pose with one of my legs straight, standing on the opposite knee. And here you have a couple of options. Dig your front heel into the ground to open your leg. You can keep your back knee where it is, or supporting yourself with your hands, you can deepen the stretch by pulling your back knee as far back as you can. Don't be shy to shuffle and shift to find a good position for your front heel and your back knee. And we're going to stay in the monkey here for at least 10 breaths. This exercise comes from the Yin Yoga tradition. So that's going to be a static one. And I'm done with my 10 breaths, supporting myself with my hands. I'm going to start bending my front leg, adjust the position of my hands as needed, and I'm going to come into the dragon pose. Now, for the dragon pose, what you want to do, you want to watch your back hip. If it's too uncomfortable, you want to pull your back knee closer to yourself. You don't have to. 10 more breaths in here as well. And just feel the gravity opening your hips here. Listen to the whooshing sound of your breath. I'm done with my 10 breaths here. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to come to the winged dragon. I'm going to roll my front foot to the outer sole so that my front knee points sideways. And I'm going to stay here for 10 more breaths to even deepen the stretch. Now, as you're here in the winged dragon, just have a look at how you're looking at the world outside you. Notice the quality of your gaze. Yogis call this drishti. And this gaze, as you notice, becomes unfocused. You see the things in front of you, but you don't see them because your body is working in overdrive to hold the pose right now. I'm done with the winged dragon. I'm going to roll my front foot back up. And I'm going to get onto my forearms here into the low-lying dragon. And I'm going to continue noticing my drishti, the unfocused gaze, where you see the things in front of you, but you don't see them. Just because the focus of your nervous system is as much outside as it is within your body. Now, the low-lying dragon is a very intensive pose. So here, if you feel like you cannot stay for 10 breaths, please don't. It feels good to just get down low here. I'm done with my 10. I'm going to come back onto my palms, and then I'm going to start turning my body to the center, pulling my front leg toward me, getting on my hands and knees. And as with every single deep stretch, what you would want to do, you would want to roll your buttocks gently from side to side to let the tension leave the inner hips. I'm gonna give it a couple more movements on each side. And I'm gonna pull myself back up, sit on my heels, and from here I'm gonna extend one of my legs sideways. Here, an important thing is finding a good position for the sole of the extended leg. Some people prefer it on the heel, like this. Some people prefer it on the inner side of the sole. Just find a position that's going to be good for you, that's going to feel good. And from here, I'm going to come back up, get on my forearms, and start swaying motions from front to back. Gonna lean as much forward and then go back, try to sit my buttocks back onto my heel. And as you're doing this, close your eyes for a second. You're not gonna fall anywhere, but feel your straight leg lengthening as it does. Feel your foot on that side moving further and further away from you. I'm gonna give it a couple more. Generally, you want to do at least 10 reps in the dynamic exercise. And I'm gonna come back onto my hands and knees and do this on the other side. First, sit on my heels, then extend my leg, find a good position for it, and notice that probably the good position for your other leg is going to be slightly different. So this one I do want to put on my heel today. So I'm going to do just that. Come back onto my hands and I'm going to start swaying front to back. Again, feeling my straight leg lengthening. And I'm gonna stop doing that. And we're going to come to the part of the sequence on the other side. I'm gonna stand on one knee, come to the monkey, support myself with my hands, dig my front heel into the ground, straighten my leg. I have an option of moving my back knee backwards if I'd like to, or keeping it where it is if I feel like I get more support that way, which I do. And I'm going to stay here for 10 breaths. And again, notice how my gaze becomes unfocused, how I see the things that I see, but don't really see them because I'm so focused on the position of my body in space, on the work of my muscles. And there was a philosopher called Jiddu Krishnamurti who talked about a double pointed attention. I'm going to start bending my knee, my front knee, come to the dragon, adjusting the position of my palms. And Jiddu Krishnamurti, who built on a long tradition of Indian mystics, actually called for this kind of attention. He called it a double arrow. Your focus of attention directed outwards to deal with the things in the outer world, and simultaneously directed inward, fully aware of all the processes within. I'm staying here for a couple more breaths, trying to do at least 10. And from here, I'm going to move to the winged dragon by rolling my front foot, pointing my knee to the side. And it's this awareness of the outside and the inside at the same time that you can explore in yoga. This, this awareness is the most helpful tool you can have in your arsenal to deal with the life's challenges, because you're aware of how your body reacts to the input from the outside and are able to make better decisions that way. I'm going to start rolling my front foot back to the full sole and get down onto my forearms into the low lying dragon. And feel my hips opening under gravity. And notice that I'm free to shift the focus of my attention where it needs to go, where I want it to go. Let's say that I want to focus on my front hip. I'm going to notice that I can freely focus my attention there. Let's say that I want to focus on the sensations in my forearms. And I'm free to focus my sensation there. And for another couple of breaths, I'm going to try and hold the focus of my attention on both areas at the same time. And I'm going to come out of the low-lying dragon. Start turning my torso again. Again, come back to my hands and knees. Make sure I'm well supported. And roll my buttocks from side to side to have any residual tension leave my hips. And I'm going to stop. Swing my body back, sit on my heels. And we're going to start working our shoulders now. I'm going to hug myself. Make sure that my fingers are on my shoulder blades. And I'm going to start turning my torso gently from side to side. The hand goes into the direction of the rotation. I'm going to feel my shoulder blades dancing under my fingers. Close your eyes if you'd like. You can accompany any rotational movement from side to side with sharp breaths as the Kundalini tradition demands. Vastrika, or the bellows breath, goes like this. Or if it's too intense or you're getting dizzy, you don't have to do it. Just enjoy the motion from side to side. And we're not going to stop turning. However, we're going to let go of our shoulder blades, put our hands on our shoulders, and just continue the motion. Again, you can employ the rhythmic yogic breath here. To deliver some fresh oxygen to your brain, but you don't have to. And see that your turns become deeper. You can even add a gaze behind your shoulder to even deepen the turn. And I think we've been going at this enough. But with rotational movement, you never want to stop abruptly. Just start to make your movements smaller, just to come to a natural standstill position eventually in the center. And you can let your hands drop, wiggle your fingers, shake your wrists, shake your forearms, make yourself as loose and supple as you can. And if you're tired of the rock pose, sitting on your heels, you can come back to Sukhasana, sitting cross-legged. And from here, we're going to expand the motion of the shoulders by doing the chest fly. Open your arms wide, palms forward, shoulder blades together. And we're going to start bringing our palms together in front of us without clapping. Of course, if you're doing that with kids, you should clap to make it more fun for them. But if you're not clapping, just try to keep your wrists loose. Go at your own pace. It's actually easier to go faster, but you don't have to. And if you'd like, close your eyes for a second and focus your attention on the sensations in your biceps. They are the ones that are going to tell you that this is probably enough for today. I'm going to give it a couple more. And let my arms drop. Take a breath. And now I'm going to extend my arms to the sides again. Palms facing up. And we're going to do the static stretch. We're going to roll our head backwards to look up. And just stay here for at least 10 breaths. You can focus on the sensation of the air on your palms right now. That's a nice stretch for your whole shoulder girdle, with the possible exception of the lower part of it. Couple more breaths, and then let it drop. Ooh. Take a breath. And now, this is not a yoga exercise that we're about to do. It comes from the Tai Chi tradition. However, I really like it in terms of shoulder mobility, so let's try and do that. Have a look at the fingers of your right hand. Very nice, aren't they? And now, we're going to do a backward windmill, following those fingers with our gaze. And we're going to do at least 10 of those. Just keep looking at your fingers as your arm makes a circular movement. Notice that you're inhaling as your arm goes up, exhaling as it goes down. It just naturally happens for most people. I'm done with this side. Coming back to the center. I'm gonna look at the fingers of my other hand. And again, start tracing the motion of my arm with my gaze. Feel your shoulder blade. It's okay if your circles are not super smooth. Two more. And we're going to come back to the center. Shrug our shoulders just to let the tension leave those. You can even circle your shoulders a little bit in both directions. And we're going to do the shoulder fly now. Again, arms extended to the sides, palms up. Put your hands together over your head without clapping. And here, watch both your biceps and your delts. For this delicious sensation of getting tired. I'm going to give it a couple more. And I'm going to let my hands drop. Take a breath in. And from here, I'm going to make loose fists. Put my forearms together. And keeping my hands together, I'm going to start spreading my elbows apart and crouching down. And coming back to the straight position with my forearms together. Here we want to target those deep muscles in the shoulder. I'm just gonna give it a couple more. And from here, I'm gonna take a breath in. We're gonna do another static exercise just to break the pattern of doing the dynamic ones. We're gonna do a thread the needle. I'm gonna come onto my hands and knees. Make sure I'm well supported with my hands. I'm gonna grab my right hand, turn it palm upwards, and thread it under my left hand. Turning my torso to the left, rest my hand on the mat, and just stay like that for at least 10 breaths. It's a very yummy pose to do before bed. Just 10 breaths here. I'm gonna come up, do it on the other side. Again, check my position for stability. Turn my left hand palm up, thread it under my right arm. Turn my torso, rest my hand on the mat, and just stay like this for 10 breaths. You're probably noticing now that your hips are also getting worked here on the side of your lower shoulder, which makes it a super versatile pose. I'm done with my 10 breaths. I'm gonna come back onto my hands and knees. And from here, I'm gonna sway back to come to the child pose. And what we're gonna do from the child pose, we're gonna start spreading our arms wide. Gonna try and rest our forehead on the mat. You don't have to, but you could. And from here, once I'm settled in this pose, I'm going to start putting my hands next to my heels. Again, extending my arms sideways. Second. And going back to the child pose. Lingering here. Arms to the side. Hands at your heels. Back to child. And I'm going to give it a couple more whirls. And then the next time that my heels are next to my hands, I'm going to lift my hands, interlace my fingers behind my back, and come up. Back to the rock pose. Make sure my back is straight. My shoulder blades are together. And I'm going to do the seated pyramid here by leaning back down And lifting my arms to where it feels comfortable. You don't want to feel any discomfort between your shoulder blades. So feel free to look for the good position for your arms here. That's the easiest stretch for your shoulder girdle. And I'm going to stay here for 10 breaths. Before coming back up, I'm going to shake my wrists, wiggle my fingers, shake my forearms here. And we're going to do one last thing before going to Shavasana. We're going to work your upper spine, which is always a very yummy way to finish a yoga session. So we're going to go back to Sukhasana and start gently nodding sideways with the objective of touching our ear on the shoulder. You don't have to actually touch. Just try to make that side nod as deep as you can. Come back to the center. Do it on the other side. Your neck is cracking here. Just try to go as slow as you can. You never want any kind of jerking movement with your neck. Couple more times. I'm keeping my eyes closed right now because it just feels right. Coming back to the center. I'm going to start nodding. And lifting my gaze up to the skies. And nodding, trying to touch my chin on my chest. Coming back. It's a nice wind down after every workout, by the way. And again, notice how your breath synchronizes with your movement here. How you tend to exhale on the way down, inhale on the way up. Couple more. And I'm going to come back to the initial position. Take a breath in. Fully exhale. And I'm going to start circular motions with my head now. Trying to keep my lower jaw loose. My mouth slightly open. You can turn this into a full workout for your neck by going at it for about a minute. We're not going to do that today. I'm just going to give my neck 10 whirls in one direction before I start getting dizzy. And change the direction of the rotation. Go the other way. And then once I feel like I'm starting to get done here, I'm not gonna stop abruptly. Just gonna start making my circles smaller and smaller and smaller until I'm completely stationary in the center. And now for a moment, just focus on the sensations in your hips and your shoulders. See if you can notice certain looseness, certain yummy feeling of emptiness there. And consider your hips and shoulders ready and open to receive all the sensations that your next day, your next week is going to bring into your body. So I'm going to thank you for doing the practice with me. Invite you to join me in Shavasana and say Namaste. Get rested.